Love podcasts, hate nonsense. It's the PoliticsJOE podcast, ladies and gentlemen. How are you doing? How are you, Ava?
I'm good. That was a very weak clap from me, though.
Yeah, I didn't realise we were giving ourselves a round of applause.
Well,
we're more applauding the sentiment.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for the podcast, yeah.
And hating nonsense is kind of the key part of the sentiment.
Oh, yeah, I missed that bit.
Paul Chowdhry, how are you doing?
Good to see you.
Comedian? Touring comedian?
Sometimes.
How would you describe yourself?
At the moment, a touring comedian. Otherwise, yeah, a stay-at-home comedian.
Who just sold out the O2?
Just sold out the O2, yeah.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah.
I know that's just what an unfathomable amount of people.
Well, I sold out Wembley on the last tour, and then I did numerous shows in London for the tour after, so I thought, why not just do an O2?
Yeah.
And get it done in one day.
Yeah.
Get the work
Right.
Instead of doing it multiple nights, which I do now up in other parts of the country, to get it done. You know?
Yeah. It's very efficient.
You've done more than like Blondie. Blondie couldn't sell out the O2.
Is it?
I know that because I went there and it was empty.
I had breakfast with her once.
Did you?
Yeah.
How was that?
I think I did one of the festivals, and I used to do like the comedy state, like the comedy tent, and then she was in the catering place, and then you just stood next to Blondie at the buffet.
At the yeah,
Filling
that
the
counts
plate.
as having breakfast
Yeah.
together. Definitely.
That's my my Blondie moment.
Being near Blondie.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, we've all been near
I've had
Blondie.
breakfast with Priti Patel then, like that.
Have you?
By that standards, yeah.
What is,
Many times.
What is the real?
She
version
eats
of
at the
that?
Parliament Cafe, and so do I.
Oh, excellent.
I've had dinner with her
Well, there you go.
in a similar way,
Right.
actually, no, she spoke to me this time though, because I got an award at Parliament.
Did you?
Is Priti Patel a fan of you?
I don't know. I don't even know. They politicians act like they know who you are.
Yeah.
So they get your votes, but I don't know if she's ever watched any of my stuff.
I can imagine she would enjoy it.
I don't know if that's a compliment.
Sure.
Shall we dive into a piping hot analysis of this
Yeah.
of this week's parliamentary questions? Shall we roll the clip? Roll clip.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister needs to listen to business. You cannot have employment rights without employment. Labour always forgets that it is not government that creates growth, it is business that creates growth. And businesses are closing, and they are blaming him and his Chancellor. There are 100,000 fewer jobs, Mr. Speaker. Hospices, charities, nurseries, they are facing bills from the jobs tax that they cannot afford. Even the unions say workers are being thrown on the scrap heap. And all of this before his unemployment bill makes hiring even more expensive. When will he admit that Labour isn't working?
Mr. Speaker, she says we should listen to. She should listen to business.
I will have the last. Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, she should listen to business. They're in favour of our trade deals. The India deal, fantastic deal. Tariffs on cars cut to 10%. Whiskey and gin, tariffs halved. £4.8 billion into our economy. What does she say she'd do with the India deal? She wants to rip it up. The US deal that saves thousands upon thousands of jobs. What does she want to do? She wants to rip it up. The EU deal, good for our economy. She's not going to even wait to see what it says. She absurdly says she's going to rip it up. It is so unserious. She even was reduced last week to calling the Indian government, accusing them of fake news. No wonder she did so badly as a trade secretary. Mr. Speaker, the project for them is over. They're sliding into oblivion. They're a dead party walking.
There's a lot in that.
There is a lot in there. Where would you like to begin, Ava?
Well, we could start with Kemi Badenoch and then the questions that he did not answer. So she's talking about how unemployment has risen under the Labour government, under the last 8 months, which is pretty rich from a government where you saw unemployment, fall off a cliff over the last 15 years. Keir Starmer there's talking about the various trade deals that he signed last week, which was, the first one was with India and then the second one was with the US. It's kind of a bit cheap that he has to read about it off of a script, isn't it? That he can't seem to remember that there were 2 trade deals last week. That feels pretty weak. Also, not being able to adequately answer her question about unemployment, because it is a very valid concern. Why has it risen under the Labour government?
I suppose it's just that we talk about this a lot on the podcast. Is Starmer's just utter refusal to engage in good faith with people's questions. Like,
Yeah.
Badenoch has a valid point there about unemployment, and he's just unable or unwilling. He's unwilling to answer it and to debate it on its own merits.
But do you think he thinks he's above it? Maybe that's what the sort of attitude that he's giving off.
Yeah, or just can't be arsed. Or it's easier to not, I guess. It's just like, it's a choice he's making. And he always seems like he can't take criticism well.
I just did Politics Live before I came here, and we were, I don't know how we got onto this point, but we were debating what is Starmerism.
Mm-hmm.
There was a Labour MP who I happen to I like personally. She gave sort of like the worst explanation of what Starmerism was. She's like, it's integrity. It's like,
God.
is it?
Would you agree with that, Paul? Starmerism equals integrity?
I don't know about that. It's an ex-lawyer. There's no integrity with a lawyer.
No?
But apparently, what, 1 million millionaires have left the UK now?
Mm-hmm.
Is that true?
Is it 1 million?
That's the rumour.
It's very difficult to quantify that though, isn't it? Because, I mean, millionaires tend to sort of flit in and out, don't they?
You just can't they'll hide their assets.
Depends on the viewing figures for this podcast, but I'm sure you might be doing this gig in, Saudi Arabia within the next few months.
Could do. I'd be very surprised looking at our analytics.
With the rise of corporation tax.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you're looking at ways to cut, to bump up your expenses now because of your income.
Probably.
Sort of like every footballer in the Premier League at the moment, right?
And every businessman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, footballers is like pure profit, isn't it? So the expenses are very low. So businesses have to look to raise their expenses to make it justifiable to stay in the UK, which so they're all leaving. So that would rise to unemployment. Or is it because of the backlog of what the Conservatives did?
I suppose that's just it's. Have I tipped over the edge into feeling sorry for Kemi Badenoch at this point in Prime Minister's questions, that regardless of how pertinent a point she is making, she's unable to get a good answer or to be treated with any sort of respect because of the sins of her government?
Well, when she smiles, it's like when a boxer smiles in a fight. It's when they're getting hit. And when a boxer smiles, they're in trouble. Because they know they're in trouble, and she's in trouble, or she's taking the piss out of it.
Or is it like, I love this, I'm crazy.
Yeah.
You can't hurt me. You're trapped in here with me.
She's struggling at the moment, isn't she?
Well, yeah, she's
exactly.
having the worst time.
She's struggling to be relevant, I think.
Yeah.
How does she combat that? Could any leader of the Conservative Party do better at
This
this
is
point?
why we've called you in today, Paul. We wanted to ask you, how does she pull back the reins on the Conservative Party?
Why are you asking me?
How does she turn it around?
She can't turn it around because she's a member of the Conservative Party, and it's hard to turn around 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
How do you turn 15 years around?
Yeah.
And the sheer bile that they exposed the country to over the last 15 years, I don't know what they can do now which is why reforms numbers are rising. And then obviously I know this is the day after the AKA Enoch Powell speech, but what can they do to make a comeback really after 15 years? So yeah, she's going to be smiling because there's almost no comeback. And you always, it's almost like it's pulling out someone else's past, isn't it? You can't really argue with anything.
No.
And she can't defend it.
It reminds me of during towards the end of Rishi Sunak's time in office when he just looked utterly pathetic. And it's kind of, he tries something and everyone will go boo, and he looked like he'd about to burst into tears. That seems to be the tone or the mood of Badenoch in office for me at the moment. It's just futile.
I think that Sunak's going to be remembered better. I think he's going to age well, actually.
Do you think so?
Yeah, I do.
I guess we'll see. I
don't know. I'm not sure.
Why do you say that?
Well, he got beaten by a cabbage. So I don't know how how will he be remembered? It's like a default prime minister, isn't he?
Do you think we'll eventually look back and be like, how on earth did Rishi Sunak lose to Keir Starmer? Do you think that's the conversation that we'll be having?
Well, so dramatically as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think. I think that revisionist historians, I can imagine in about 30 years' time, will look back on this period and say, well, actually, he got inflation down from 11% to 2.8%. He did actually manage to stabilise the economy, and he brought down people's mortgages. He managed to get the base rate down. slightly, I think that he'll probably come off quite well for that.
It's only off the back of what trusted, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, totally.
So she absolutely threw it up the wall. Is this a clean part? I'm not sure what I can say and can't say on this podcast.
You can swear.
Language-wise. Oh, you can swear?
Yeah.
Yeah, she completely, fucked the country. He just almost took the credit for something which wasn't that difficult at the time.
just reverse.
Just put the brakes on.
Yeah,
She didn't have any idea what she was doing.
Do you know that I do? So I get paired with Kwasi Kwarteng quite like often, maybe like monthly, to do a panel. He'll call me. Okay, this is like him in a nutshell. He will call me Ava up until the point when we go on air, and then on air he calls me Amy. Like, how rude is that?
I think it's quite a power move.
I think it's a power move. But the problem is, and he doesn't think, so he can't get a job in the city. Do you know that he was a banker before and he was pretty successful? Okay, I've really overblown that. But like, he existed as a banker. Mm-hmm. He cannot get a job in the city. And every other chancellor has pretty much ended up as like chair of a board or at least done something,
Well, yeah, but imagine like how angry you would be if you were like an investor brought on this like big financial services team and Kwasi Kwarteng is sitting at the table.
Can you not put him in the risk department though or something?
It'd be like a real Jonah.
But like anything he suggests, you could do the total opposite. And then maybe it would be like,
I think his name hasn't helped.
Kwasi Kwarteng.
Kwasi. You just don't see many Kwasis these days.
No.
You know any Kwasis?
Not personally, no.
That's why it's affected his career. It's a Kwasi name.
It's got quite a nice ring to it.
It has got a nice ring to it if it's on your phone.
If he's calling.
You're getting a WhatsApp.
If he's calling, then we hang up. What do we have anything else to say about Kemi at the moment? I feel we always kind of give the same analysis to Kemi and Keir's exchanges at the moment. They almost follow a template. It's not a particularly inspiring part of Prime Minister's questions. And actually, I noticed in the office, once again, all the Labour MPs were like, does the Prime Minister agree with me that we are absolutely brilliant? And he says, yes, of course. And so I think we will never discuss a Labour MP's question.
We'll never do it. Because, okay, so later on, there's this like very wet exchange where just wonderfully, how fortuitous timing, the MP for near Solihull, where they've just granted Jaguar Land Rover, well, they were all going to keep their jobs because of the US trade deal. She stands up to say, Prime Minister, would you agree with me that it's so fantastic that we've saved Jaguar Land Rover? Like, why are these people allowed to ask these snivelling little questions?
Yeah. As if like people in their constituencies don't have actually like real problems. I think you are being given a real disservice if your MP stands up and is just like licking his arse for 30 seconds on television. Like we could, like wherever we all live, you could think of something in the local area that you would require your MP's attention. And you think if your MP had the kind of a national platform, they would like to do something to talk about your area rather than just being like, isn't Starmerism fucking fantastic?
Constant roadworks.
Yeah. There should be an entire national convention on roadworks and potholes.
Yeah, and the roads are in a bad state of this country at the moment. And I think Microsoft just dug up the road in front of my house.
Microsoft?
Yeah, for fibre optic.
Oh, you're not joking. I thought this was a Bill Gates thing.
No.
Okay.
No, it wasn't a Bill Gates conspiracy theory.
Okay.
We stopped recording. You're like, yeah, well, yeah.
Okay.
We cut back. It's been 90 minutes later. Shall we have another clip? Roll clip.
This Prime Minister once spoke of compassion and dignity for migrants and for defending free movement. Now he talks of islands of strangers and taking back control. Somebody here has to call this out, Mr. Speaker. It seems the only principle he consistently defends is whichever he last heard in a focus group. So I ask him, is there any belief he holds which survives a week in Downing Street?
Yes, the belief that she talks rubbish. Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker. I want to lead a country where we pull together and walk into the future as neighbours and as communities, not as strangers. And the loss of control of migration by the last government put all of that at risk. And that's why we're fixing the system based on principles of control, selection, and fairness.
Do you see how they've changed the line, the strangers line? See what they've done there?
Talk us through it.
So yesterday it was we're at risk of becoming an island of strangers, which people pointed out harks back to Enoch Powell's Rivers of Blood speech.
1968.
Wow, okay.
That was 1960. Well, I remember it well. No, I wasn't alive. I do remember it. I do remember it off the backdrop of that.
Do you think it is a similar phrase?
Well, he used words that Enoch Powell used. And it's hard for him not to... See, I think the reason they've done this is because of the rise of reform, and now Labour and Conservatives didn't even address immigration a lot of the time. So now they're saying, well, we have to say something, and they just don't know how to word it. So they probably YouTubed Enoch Powell.
Immigration speech.
ChatGPT, write this for 2025 without it sounding racist.
Oh, no. Oh, no. We need some work. So they just looked up immigration speech.
Yeah.
Pop hit. Oh, this is popular. This is interesting.
But then,
people talking about this.
What is being British, though? I need to know this now. What is, we're losing our identity as Brits.
Do you feel that?
I do feel that sat amongst you two. I'm losing, you two aren't as British as me.
Is that because he's Scottish?
I'm talking about you two.
Yeah, I know, but is that because he's Scottish?
Yeah, that as well.
Yeah.
She's a woman?
And she's a woman.
So Scott.
I'm the only true Brit here. I don't like you as an immigrant and her as a woman. So I do feel like you're invading me.
I can move closer to woman over there.
Can move closer to the borders.
The Isle of
France.
Scottish man and woman. There was a lot of hand wringing I saw on Twitter about
X.
X. Twitter, no, X formerly known as Twitter, about Starmer's jibe, the belief that she talks rubbish, which got the Labour MPs. They were in fits of giggles.
It was a great heckle, and that's the only time you've actually seen him with a bit of personality there.
Do you think so? Because he's fucking furious.
And he's furious.
Because he's rattled.
It's a quick put down, isn't it? And it's the quickest he's ever thunk.
Yeah.
Isn't he? He's never said anything that quickly.
Yeah.
His brain has never registered that quickly, and he was like, you could see he was rattled there.
Do you think he was rude to Saville Roberts, and does it matter? I personally don't think it does.
I mean, you could argue she was rude. You could argue he was rude yesterday with what he said about the strangers comment.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
Where does it begin?
No,
Where are we going back to?
I suppose instead of tone policing that, if we engage with the substance, the allegation that Starmer doesn't hold his beliefs for a very long time stands up entirely. If we look back from his when he stood for leader in 2019, he was a dyed-in-the-wool socialist.
Well, I see. Okay, I think this is what's for us. There's a lot of sort of, I guess, more middle or conservative commentators who are talking about what was said yesterday with this Islands of Strangers comments, and they're arguing that it's not that bad, and it's farcical to suggest that it was similar to the Enoch Powell speech, even though it's the same words in a very similar order. But I think unless you've been covering Labour or following Labour or been a member of the party for a good 10 years, you're not familiar with the sort of trajectory that Starmer has taken over the past 6 years. You had the fall of Corbyn. Starmer sort of came out of the woodwork as former shadow Brexit secretary, and he was not a frontrunner to be leader of the party. And so he adopted this sort of pseudo-Corbynism in order to attract the membership toward him and vote him in to this position of authority. And he hoodwinked a lot of them because he said that he was going to implement a number of the Corbyn policies that were socialist, that people were in favour of. He said he was just going to do it without the anti-Semitism. His words, not mine.
Mm-hmm.
And as he got into the next election, he's hoodwinked Labour members again, because he's promised them, if you come out and canvass for me on policies that you might not particularly like, when I get into government, I will actually be the Labour Prime Minister that you will want and dream of. And he hasn't done it again. So when you're comparing these two side-by-side clips of him talking yesterday about an island of strangers back to 2022, when he's talking about migrants and immigrants being the backbone of society, people who canvassed for him are right to be angry. Sorry, it was a very long speech.
No, it was good.
There we go.
And a reference there to, what did you say?
What did I say?
Yeah.
In 2022, he was talking, which bit? The last bit?
Yeah.
He was talking in 2022 when he was sort of, I think it was actually during a reset of his leadership. he was doing a speech then, and he was
About
saying that
immigrants, yeah.
he was like they're the backbone of society, and that only he was making the argument that only people who want to with something to hide blame immigrants as the source for their problems or their worries. I think he even uses the word stupid. I think he does call them stupid.
Right.
So that's quite a big transition.
It is. I think you can
That was off the back of what Suella Braverman said, wasn't it? In 2022.
Bloody hell, you've got a good memory, haven't you?
Yeah, because that was when Suella, and that was the start of the Rwanda discussion.
I think we're still at Priti Patel there, but I think that Priti Patel at that point, is talking something
At the
similar
early
about-
2022, it was done. And I
Right.
think Suella came in later in 2022. If I
Bloody hell, that's really good knowledge.
Yep.
Gee.
think. I might be wrong, but
They're your two biggest political fans, Suella Braverman.
they're my
and
favourites.
Priti Patel. So you're fans of them. You're
This is
big-
what you
big
talked
fan.
about when you had dinner with her.
Well, also anti-Semitism. You know, his former leader was accused of anti-Semitism. Oh well, I was with him at New Year's Eve. We
Did
spent
you?
New Year's Eve together. Yeah.
Did you?
With Jeremy?
And what was the context?
Just a New Year's Eve party, but I didn't. So it was an interesting discussion with him about where he wants things to go, and I didn't bring up Israel and Palestine with him.
No, it's a bit
No, he hates talking about that, doesn't he?
deep for New Year's Eve, isn't it?
It's a very deep discussion, even for a podcast.
We will be coming on to it. I just wanted to highlight a couple of other things that Starmer has changed his mind over, because I think in the context of this week in the speeches, it's quite easy to kind of pin down on immigration. But if you take trans rights, for instance, in 2022, he went on the record and said trans women are women. In 2025, he said that trans women are not women. If you consider his positions on Brexit from when he was in Corbyn's shadow cabinet to now, and the second referendum completely changed. He has, during the leadership contest, when he became leader of the Labour Party, he wanted to increase the income tax for the top 5% of earners, and he dropped that in 2023. So I think there's just a litany of policies that he's just completely reversed on. So
He's rather fair weather, isn't he?
yeah, Saville Roberts is absolutely right. And
Yeah, to keep people in favour.
Or I don't even know if it's to keep people in favour, or if it's just he's just doesn't have any principles. Is it just
A politician having principles. It's very rare for them not to have, because politicians
the most principled?
are the most principled people in the country.
Yeah, and that's why Paul's available for all MPs' Christmas parties.
Yeah, I'll do a gig for him.
Yeah.
Was it at his house?
No, I actually was at a friend's house and he was invited. But yeah, I think they're trying to go up now against reform, and they're seeing the rise of the popularity of the party. And at least he's not getting his references from Andrew Tate, though. You know, whereas
I don't know. That might be next week.
yeah, he could start
watching
Andrew Tate videos and saying, "Well, he said this, so this is my reference point."
Smoking a shisha.
Did you see that video of him fighting 60 men?
Andrew or Keir?
Andrew Tate. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and 60 of his fans paid to like fight him in an octagon for like 3 minutes each.
Really?
Yeah, like some.
I'm going to have to try this. I need the views.
Well, fight,
How big
you
would
fight
this-
your fans.
I'd fight me, yeah, for 60 of them.
Do you think you could batter your fans?
No, I mean, look at the size of me and look at that. I'm an old man as well.
An old man?
He's quite a bit younger than me.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I could fight Andrew Tate, though.
No.
He was a kickboxer.
Yes.
But if I was training,
How long do you think it would take you to get?
and also he'd
fighting
put me
shape?
in a different weight division to me. I was kind of training with Chris Eubank Jr. a few weeks ago, and
Really?
he won his fight. Yeah.
And you taught him everything.
I taught him most of his, yeah. He shouldn't have gone 12 rounds. He shouldn't have gone to points. Should have been a knockout. But
Why were you training with Chris Eubank Jr.?
a lot of fighters come to my shows and they're fans. So he's been to quite a few of my shows.
That's cool. That is cool.
Do they have to train with you? Is that like a prerequisite?
I,
of, like,
I
going
go
to the-
I train with it. And then he was at the O2 show
That's really cool. That is
with his whole training camp.
Wow. That is good.
Nice. Wow.
That is sick.
And he was in Dubai, and then he saw me at the Dubai Opera House in December for my last tour, and they came to this one. So
Excellent.
Wow.
a lot of MMA fighters, a lot of fighters come to my shows, and a lot of boxers, George Groves and all these guys.
Really?
Yeah, will come to my shows. I'm not sure what it says about my comedy.
Yeah, I was thinking it attracts violent men.
And women, and
Violent women.
and a lot of violent women come. I don't want to,
Oh.
Well, Derek Chisora is a big fan of. I think he's a member of the Reform Party, isn't he?
Yeah,
Or
I
is-
know him as well.
Yeah.
I know Chisora as well. I'm from Edgware. He's from Finchley, I think. So
So what, you're
Yeah.
in like a postcode fight?
Yeah, I think it's, I've moved area now, though, so but Chisora, yeah, a lot of these guys are reform, and it's interesting when you look back on the rhetoric of Enoch Powell in '68. My dad came in '64, so the backdrop was against Sikhs, my people, and the immigration at the time, which was 0.01% or something at the time, but it was an invasion then, and it's still an invasion now, as people put it. But look, if you look back at what the '60s and '70s were like, and the whole point of that was to incite violence on the streets, which is rivers of blood. So what could this do? I think this could make matters worse, even though brown people are still not 8% of the UK. So if you look at it, the country is fortunately still white. It's still, my people are still here. We're not being taken over just yet. But the rhetoric in PMQs is like, yeah, this invasion has come back again.
Because I can't imagine that it will tempt any. I can't imagine what Starmer said yesterday will tempt anyone who is a reform voter over to the Labour Party. I don't think, even though that is what I would argue that's probably what the intention of that speech was.
Yeah.
But what I do think it achieves is moving the Overton window, because if it's acceptable for the Labour leader to say, to say something like that, then it moves the dial, right? That means that someone like the Conservative leader will have to say something, well, a lot more extreme to counter, so that there's still a point of difference between the Conservatives and Labour. And I think that shift in narrative is the bit that is, well, worrying.
Well, Enoch was Conservative at the time.
Yeah.
Enoch Powell was Conservative at the time, and then got sacked for that speech.
I think he became a DUP MP or something insane like that.
But
Sounds like
he's
you're
sort of like Rupert Lowe, like Rupert Lowe, who was thrown out of the Reform Party for, threats that have now been cleared. But
he did that speech in Birmingham, Enoch Powell, at the time.
Yeah.
Which is quite ironic now.
Interesting choice, isn't it? Yeah.
See, when you see all the rise of this rhetoric, how does that make you feel as a not white person in this country?
What are you trying to say?
That you're not white.
Oh, right. Well, I was born in the '70s, and racism now is very different to what it was then. I call this tour currently Englandia. Ironically, now it's kind of, it does speak of what the zeitgeist represents now in the UK. So being born in England, family from India, called it Englandia, simple title, but a lot of the right are coming to the show thinking it's all about, and they're getting quite disappointed when I take
wait a minute,
when I take kind of the mick out of everyone. Ava's been sorry, Amy, you've been to a few of my shows. not my personal one-man shows, but the clubs. So and I play with everything. So
Jesus.
Yeah, apart from Jesus.
Not him.
Yeah.
Some things are too sacred.
But yeah, it's interesting to where it's going, because the country is very different to what it was in the '70s. It was such a tiny population of non-white people at that time. And at that time, we were taking over the country. And the only opportunities were factories. And even what I do today as a profession was a far off dream back then. I couldn't be stood on a stage doing a tour around the UK looking like this and with my ethnicity. And I'm living a dream which was only possible because of what my dad did in the '60s to come to England in '64 to make this dream possible. But we're still quite primitive when it comes to opportunities for people that look like me.
What would you like to see change?
Well, it's interesting. Like, if you look at America's state on immigration and sectors of society, which are, some say, more divided, but then the country's so much bigger. When we're seen as an island, that's when it sounds like an invasion, because we're this tiny little island who's not even a part of the EU anymore. And
yeah, it's a very choice word there, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, they call it an island. We're not really an island; we're a country, though, aren't we? So, yeah, that it's good to keep this fear of this rhetoric of fear amongst the population today. And the highest voters for reform are predominantly in white areas, because they don't want their area being, as they say, invaded. So it'd be interesting to see. When I started gigging, I was the only non-white person in the room in like mid-98. So things have changed in the entertainment business, but
you did keep doing the Rivers of Blood speech. So
me, yeah, with an Indian accent. So, yeah.
It's like something
that could be a good bit of a show.
good fringe show.
Yeah.
Do you remember when they did? It was like Bob's Blunderbuss. They read the Chilcot inquiry like the whole way through at the Fringe.
really,
Yeah. Two of my friends did it at like 4 o'clock in the morning. It was like a continuous reading, and they got the bit where Saddam was hanged. So they were thrilled.
Oh,
with that.
wow.
They just got to read that part out.
they got the real good bit.
They did.
Where Saddam Hussein was at.
Yeah, just when that was mentioned in the Chilcot inquiry, they got to read that out
Right.
as part of the I don't know, continuous reading of the Chilcot inquiry.
Did you ever see that video?
Of what of Saddam
Hanging.
being hanged? I didn't actually ever watch it. I have a real version.
Yeah.
It was on YouTube.
Yeah.
It was around the time Two Girls, One Cup was out.
Those are the two things on the internet.
Those are the two biggest.
I'm pretty
Viral
sure I
videos.
actually got recommended the Saddam video off the Two Guys One Cup. Yeah.
Which one was more disturbing?
Probably the first one, because that sort of points to like the state of the economy at that time, that
Yeah.
those women couldn't afford 2 cups.
Yeah.
They had to share anything. Couldn't afford clothes either.
Yeah,
food.
but now we've got, Bonnie Blue.
Yeah.
So
She's got loads of cups.
yeah, she's got a lot of cups.
Yeah.
Long queues.
Long queues. 1,000 boys,
But
one cup.
she's contributing to the mass immigration problem.
Why? Why is she? What is she doing?
A lot of people coming to this country for employment at the same time being rewarded for their endeavors.
Right.
So she's really, she's helping reform.
Do you know what? That would be a really good Vox, wouldn't it? To do the Bonnie Blue queue and see how people vote.
Yeah.
It is. I also stand. I'm a truther. I don't believe it happens. That's my Bonnie Blue.
You don't believe it happened?
I don't believe it happens.
Oh, you think it's just she's just making these videos?
Like, as in, like, oh yeah, she can say whatever she wants. Like, she can say, oh yeah, I shagged 1,000 men yesterday.
I say that to my audience.
I shagged
On this
1,000 men
tour.
yesterday.
Well, no, when I'm in the audience and there's 1,000 people, for example, I'd say that's like me banging the entire audience, which I then try and do after the show.
Yeah. And is that what's more popular, the gig or the after?
The after parties.
Yeah, there's more people.
I
actually.
normally last about 3 people.
But you've told us who goes. I don't know if I'd want any of those.
Oh, who goes to my show?
Yeah, those huge boxes.
They're at the back of the queue. The box.
Well, when you're a bit looser.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
Oh no, I'm doing the banging.
Okay.
Sorry, I think you've got it wrong.
Yeah,
All right.
obviously. Come on.
Okay.
I'm going to.
I'm not gay. I do the banging.
Right.
I did a video on a porn star university in Hertfordshire. I met this Scouse guy who makes gay for pay content, and I said, "How do you consider? Sexuality do you consider yourself?" He said, "Obviously straight. I'm top only, no kissing," which I thought was great. Shall I wrench back control of this, and should we talk about Ed Davey?
Really?
Or-
Oh, you picked that one. There was actually a better. There was. Oh, well, should we not do Farage first and then come back?
Or just Farage?
Yeah. There's a better Gaza clip, which is Sir Edward Lee later. I could describe it.
I'm not sure that'd be useful for anybody.
Okay.
Let's just do Farage.
Fine.
Farage, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We at Reform, a party that is alive and kicking, very much enjoyed your speech on Monday. You seem to be learning a very great deal from us. But can I encourage you, please, to go further as a matter of national security? As a matter of national security. Over the weekend, an illegal immigrant from Iran, who we believe came by boat, was arrested in the north of England on serious charges of terrorism. Since the speech on Monday, 1,000 young, undocumented young males have crossed the English Channel. Does the Prime Minister agree? Now is the time to declare the situation in the English Channel as a national security emergency.
It wasn't my speech, it was the Prime Minister's.
Mr. Speaker, the situation is serious. The last government lost control of the borders. We are taking powers. The Borders Bill, precisely to his point, the Borders Bill is the first bill to give terrorism-like powers to law enforcement, precisely so that we can get in before the crimes are committed, before people get to this country. That's why this is the most far-reaching provision ever for law enforcement to defend and secure our borders. And that's why it is extraordinary that he, of all people, voted against it. And sooner or later he's going to have to explain it.
She's struggling, Raina, isn't she? She's struggling.
She looks visibly in pain.
Mm.
And she also did not laugh.
Because she just came from one of Paul's shows.
Yeah. She looks in great.
What?
The Connie Blue show? No.
No, but outrageous.
I thought you meant the material.
No.
Oh,
Was it Botox?
The what?
no, her stomach hurts from laughing so much. But she was in pain from Starmer's joke about Saville Roberts. She didn't laugh. Shall we dig into the substance of what Farage was saying? I think it's interesting that Starmer was ruder to Saville Roberts than he was to Farage there.
Would you not? Well,
that's true.
They shared a handshake, didn't they, a couple of months ago? I think they crossed the floor and shook each other's hands. I thought it was more interesting, actually, what Starmer had to say after that.
Well, hit me.
Their last government lost control of the borders. It's the island rhetoric again, isn't it? Mm-hmm. It's the we are an island, and it's like a running motif of an invasion, and as if we need to hunker down, like we're in a medieval time or something.
Yeah. Like the barbarians are coming.
Yeah, over in a boat.
Yeah.
Like
the
Vikings. Yeah.
It's the Vikings. The Vikings are coming.
And those 100 people, they're all criminals, you see.
Yeah.
They're guaranteed criminals.
When he says we think this, who's we? Reform? Or do Reform have these investigatory powers or resources that we don't know about?
Reform?
Yeah.
Well, I guess their whole shtick is that they speak for the people, right? The people that are not spoken for.
Mm-hmm.
But actually the people who are only ever spoken for, actually.
Yes.
There's there's probably like 5 guys named Bill who think this. And they're like the only ones who get their say on the national media every single day.
I thought there was an interesting rhetorical trick Farage did there, where he said, yes, Starmer, love what you're doing with immigration, but it's not quite good enough. It's not quite good enough. Do this.
Go further.
Slightly more. Like, you listen, lads, you like that? What about this? What about this? It's not the real thing, though, is it? Declare a national emergency.
He is right to take credit for that speech, though.
Yeah.
That is the point.
No, I know it totally is, but I just think it shows the futility of trying to chase it for Starmer. It's just not going to be good enough, and it allows Farage to weaponize any attempt the government makes to bring down immigration, because it's not strong enough. It's not hard enough.
What would you do?
What would I do? Not listen to Nigel Farage.
Really?
What would you do?
Listen to Nigel Farage.
Yeah, that's classic Ava response. Classic Ava response.
Also, these rules now
that
Labour want to put in though for immigrants and this 10-year thing.
Raising it from 5 years to 10 years.
To 10 years.
To get your citizenship, yeah.
Yeah. And the language.
Mm-hmm.
They've got to speak perfect English, which most of the country can do, apart from immigrants. As you know, a lot of English people, their English is impeccable.
Mm-hmm.
Which areas in particular have the most impeccable English?
Well, fucking London. Up north. Where are you from, Paul? Well, you're not English, so you're not one of us. But,
was that an impression of me?
Yes.
Sorry.
I was trying to do you there.
I didn't understand. That was good.
Yeah.
I didn't understand it. This is what it's like when I don't know what you're talking about.
I took a phone call in the office today, and every word I said, Ava and our colleagues were just repeating it in my accent, which is a microaggression.
When I watch the podcast back, I have to watch yours in closed captions.
Yeah.
Just to understand what you were saying.
No, that makes
I've got an earpiece in to translate what you say to me.
There's a premium service where I'm dubbed.
But don't make sure this isn't broadcast in Scotland, because I've got glasses next week. and I don't want to affect ticket sales.
Yeah, they're not a sensitive bunch up there, are they?
Not Glasgow.
No.
Edinburgh they are.
Yes, they are.
In Glasgow, they're too drunk and high on heroin. Sorry, heroin is available in Edinburgh as well. Because Trainspotting was based there.
Yeah. They're very sensitive about that.
Yeah, no, sorry.
Heroin.
Heroin users are sensitive to
they're
heroin.
very PC these days. It's not like when the Boyle days.
No. No. Good books, though. It's a good film. Good book. Big endorsement.
Do you know those guys? Do you know the writer of that?
Do I know Irvin Welsh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's always about.
Yeah, he's always here.
Yeah. You've had him on?
Is he? We'd love to have him on.
We never asked, have we?
We no, actually haven't.
I don't think this is a glowing endorsement.
What?
Not this clip, but maybe
Yeah.
cut what I just said out and ask him.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Irvin Welsh is perfectly aware of the heroin problem in Edinburgh.
Yeah, but I brought it up, and that's when the problem started.
Oh, okay.
And they also bring him to our country. You guys bring it to my country, England, and there's a problem in
Do
King's
you?
Cross.
What? Yeah. I'm in a county lines gang, bringing heroin to London.
You're a drugs mule.
Yeah. That's how I got. That's how I got the job here.
I've got a real issue with crime outside my flat, actually. At the moment.
Right?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Which
issue.
area is this?
Well, I'm not gonna.
London.
Yeah, but I'm okay at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm very friendly with them.
With the criminals. That's good. That's good. It's good to keep them on
Are
side.
they immigrants or?
Yeah, they're in central London in a dinghy.
Yeah, this is the problem.
That's how I knew that there
came
was
up-
crime.
You sure that's not a narrowboat? could be, because a lot of middle classes live on these narrowboats now. Because it's hard to now distinguish which are the immigrants and which are the middle classes.
Because they live on. Because
They're both coming over on boats. I'm literally throwing shit at narrowboats these days for them to go back.
Yeah. Go back to the home county. Yeah.
It takes some. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say something, but it wasn't.
Shall we draw a line into this?
Yeah. How long have we been going?
About 45 minutes.
Okay.
I think
What does it get cut down to?
about 4. Paul Chowdhry, thank you so much for coming on. If people wanted to hear your comedy in person, where should they
In
go?
person. Then just go to my website if it's still up and running. It's always got problems.
Yep.
Oh,
Is someone always taking it down, are they?
yeah, it's getting taken down
Bill Gates.
for hate speech.
Oh, is that what they did? So they're digging up, Microsoft are digging up to get your website down.
Well, I think they're digging up to make the internet faster,
Okay.
but it's getting slower
Oh, no.
and there's a lot more outages. But yeah, I'm best performed live,
Yes.
and I think that's a dying breed now, and it's a dying art form. And stand-up isn't really respected anymore, is it?
Why?
I don't know. It's just like we're not respected as entertainers. It's the rawest form of entertainment. A man in a microphone, or any other gender with a microphone.
Just as long as they're English.
It's just as long as they're white like me. But I haven't seen you at a gig for years. You don't go anymore.
I do. I just haven't been coming down to
The
Soho,
O2.
that's all. It's not look, I'll be at the O2. How about that? Oh no, I can't. You sold out.
Well, that was a few weeks ago. I sold out. Yeah.
Okay.
So we can't go back. But Birmingham Arena end of the month. Which is
Okay,
always
well
sold out.
maybe I'll go to Birmingham.
I've got all the northern dates now.
Yeah. And
So-
you insulted them also in the podcast.
I always insult. Yeah, I do insult the south when I'm in the north, and vice versa, because you've got to play the room.
Got you.
Read the area.
That makes sense.
And there was a riot at my Southend on Sea gig. So it
Really?
All right.
kicked off. It was all over there. I'm surprised you didn't discuss it on here.
It passed me by. I'm
Yeah.
afraid.
Yeah.
What was the riot?
Oh, just hecklers and somebody, he got not spoken to, but
Jesus.
punched in the head at the end of it.
Okay.
Oh my, really? So he came to heckle?
Well, I think he just got a bit drunk. And nowadays, heckling is, it's kind of ruining gigs.
Yeah, people think it's part of the show.
I don't mind heckling.
Mhm.
As long as the heckler knows, like, you've been now put down. But when it's just back and forth
Yeah.
for 25 minutes, then other audience members start to get a bit more niffed off by it.
Yeah, that is.
And it doesn't stop.
That must be very frustrating.
Yeah. And you don't do it at plays.
No.
So,
No.
or opera. Opera. I tried to do opera. It didn't work.
No.
No?
Your singing voice isn't good enough.
No.
really.
Yeah, it's hard to heckle at an opera.
Yeah.
What
yeah,
were you
yeah.
protesting at the opera?
I don't know. It's probably they're all very politically incorrect. If you look back at opera, very
Okay.
sexist,
Yeah.
racist, and homophobic.
Yeah, like the Mikado, Gilbert and Sullivan.
That's why they're so good though, right?
Yeah, that's why
It's the purest form of English entertainment.
Have you
Thank-
got a date in Blackpool?
No, I'm not doing Blackpool. Are you
There's a new pub opening there.
pub?
Reform pub.
Is there?
Yeah.
I'll see if let's do an opening night there. Politics with Joe. I'll do the first hour, and then do the podcast.
Yeah.
Okay.
What day? Yeah, that'd be fun at the Reform Pub. We'll look out for that. Thank you, everyone, so much for watching or listening. Remember to send this episode to a friend who might enjoy it. And we will see you on the subreddit for some good faith discussion, I'm sure. And we'll see you all next time.
And Paul will see you up in the north.
Yes, in the queue.
I'll
after
see
the
you up
gig.
there.
In the queue.
In the queue.
In the queue.
Outside the Bonnie Boo queue.
Yeah. Bye.